Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Here's another video on factoring and solving. And let's see if I can pull this a little bit more. Okay, there you go. So in this video, we need to factor a trinomial where my leading coefficient is not 2. So the first thing that I'm going to check for is whether I can factor anything out in order to make this leading coefficient in 1. And if you think about it, well, 2, 5, and 2 have a greatest common factor of 1. So that's not really going to help me. So because that doesn't really help, I'm going to create a super X box. So this is what I will do. I'm going to do an X first, create a box like this. And what I'm going to do is multiply the first term times my constant. 2 times 2, that gives me 4. And I'm going to write down the value of c on the bottom of this x, so 5. And now I'm going to set up this box. I'm going to write down 2x squared here, which is my first term, and my constant on the last box. Okay, now that I have this set up, I can move on to the next step. And the next step is to find the factors, find the magical numbers. Okay, so numbers that when I multiply them gives me 4, but when I add them give me 5. If you think about it for a little bit, you will realize that, well, 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. Now that I have found these two magical numbers, I'm going to write them. And the order doesn't matter. I'm going to write them like this. Well, 4x and x. Do not forget the x when you write them here, so you're not confused. I'm actually going to put a 1 here just for the sake of those who get confused, like, where did that x come from? Well, that just came from here. This is 1x. That's where I got it from. Okay. Now that I place the numbers here, I'm going to figure out what is the greatest common factor between 2x squared and 1x. Well, actually, the greatest common factor between a 2 and a 1 is just 1. The greatest common factor between an x squared and an x, they actually have 1 power of x in common, so it's just x. And now I'm going to ask myself, well, what times x gives me 2x squared? Because I want to find the number here. What times x gives me 2x squared? The answer is 2x. After I found this number, then I'm going to ask myself that same question to figure out the number that goes here. And the question is, well, what times 2x gives me 4x? Be careful with this, because a lot of times you want to say 2x and it's actually just a 2. It's positive 2. So I already figured out one of the factors. I'm pretty sure I did this right. And then the last question that I'm going to ask myself is, well, what times x gives me x? And the answer for that is just 1. Okay. Now, after I found these numbers, I want to make sure that they work for every single box. 2x times x is 2x squared, 1 times x is 1x, 2x times 2 is 4x, 1 times 2 is 2. So it works for everything. So I'm pretty positive that these are the factors of 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So I'm going to write them as a product of binomials. And let's solve just for extra practice. If I was to solve this problem, then all I have to do is set them equal to 0, each factor equal to 0. And then I will solve for x. If I solve for x on this one, minus 1 and then divided by 2, that will give me negative 1 over 2. And in this one, all I have to do is subtract 2 from both sides. So x is equal to negative 2. That was a beautiful cry from my baby, if you heard that on the video. She's singing in a very high pitch. Okay, here are 3 problems that you have to work through. So please pause the video. I'm gonna give you the answers in a little bit. Okay, hopefully you pause the video. And here are the answers. Here are the answers. Make sure you check all of them, that you got everything correct. And that's it for this video. Well, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't hurt you and it definitely does not hurt me.